Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by B4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News गांव से, संवाद सरोकार न्यूज, भारत न्यूज पोस्ट, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And our today's topic is not only current, but it's very, very important topic. And the topic is human and nature. Human and nature. Look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better. Nature in the broadest sense is the natural, physical, material world or universe. Nature can refer to the phenomena of the physical world and also to life in general. The study of nature is a large, if not the only part of science. Although humans are part of nature, human activity is often understood as a separate category from other natural phenomena. The word nature is borrowed from the old French nature and is derived from Latin word natura or essential qualities, innate disposition, and in ancient times literally meant birth. In ancient philosophy, natura is mostly used as the Latin translation of the Greek word physis, which originally related to the intrinsic characteristics that plants, animals, and other features of the world develop of their own accord. The concept of nature as a whole, the physical universe, is one of universal expansions of the original notion. During the advent of modern scientific method in the last several centuries, nature became the passive reality, organized and moved by divine laws. With the Industrial Revolution, nature increasingly became seen as the part of reality deprived from intentional intervention. It was hence considered as scared by some traditions or a mere decorum for divine providence or human history. However, a vitalist vision of nature closer to the pre-Socratic one got reborn at the same time, especially after Charles Darwin. Within the various uses of the word today, nature often refers to geology and wildlife. Nature can refer to the general realm of living plants and animals, and in some cases to the processes associated with inanimated objects, the way that particular types of things exist and change of their own accord, such as the weather and geology of the earth. It's often taken to mean the natural environment or wilderness, wild animals, rocks, forest, and in general those things that have not been substantially altered by human intervention or which persist despite human intervention. For example, manufactured objects and human interaction generally are not considered part of nature unless qualified as, for example, human nature or the whole of nature. This more traditional concept of natural things that can still be found today implies a distinction between the natural and the artificial, with the artificial being understood as that which has been brought into being by a human consciousness or a human mind. Depending on the particular context, the term natural might also be distinguished from the unnatural or the supernatural. Earth's ecosystems have evolved for millions of years, resulting in diverse and complex biological communities living in balance with their environment. Since the 16th century, human activities has impacted nature in particularly every part of the world. Wild plants and animals are at risk of extinction, deforestation, and land degradation are causing water scarcity and erosion, and climate change leads to acidification of oceans. In countries like Bangladesh and India, for example, the clearing of forests cause deadly floods during the monsoon season. To bring the natural system into balance, a new economy that is sustainable and respects the limits of natural resource and the functions of ecosystems is fundamental. This requires a shift in how we value, use, and dispose of resources, creating a circular system as in nature. Urban planning would benefit tremendously if it recognized the connection between cities and their natural surroundings. Most of us do not realize that what we use is directly related to the natural balance on the planet. Almost all consumer goods contain minerals and metals. A mobile phone can contain 50 different materials, but no country is self-sufficient in these materials. And all too often, this global trade comes with an environmental and social cost. A growing use of synthetic fertilizer to increase food production now sustains almost half of the world's population, but also causes pollution of air, water, and soils, and fossil fuels provide energies to many, but only at the cost of rising atmospheric CO2 concentrations and global warming. Earth Overshoot Day calculates when the people on Earth have consumed the globe's renewable resource for the year. This day falls earlier every year. In 2017, it was on the 2nd of August, whereas 15 years earlier, it was on the 19th of September. This shows the incredible speed at which we are using natural resources such as air, water, fish stocks, and food crops, minerals, and other valuable materials extracted from the earth. The natural capital of the planet is limited, and a better understanding of the connections between people and nature can help to restore the balance. Ecosystems consist of living organisms interacting with the non-living elements in their environment, such as soil, atmosphere, water, and heat, and sunlight in ways that are essential for their survival. We all know that trees produce the oxygen we breathe, but most of us do not know that our oceans are at least as important for producing healthy air. Another example is that over 500 plant species rely on bats to pollinate their flowers, including species of mango, banana, and cocoa. Like birds, some bats play a critical role in spreading the seeds of trees and other plants and also help to reduce the number of mosquitoes. Alexander von Humboldt, the 18th century scientist and explorer, world famous in his time, was the first to explain the fundamental functions of the forest for the ecosystem and climate, claiming that the world is a single interconnected organism. This is the concept of nature as we know it today. According to Mr. von Humboldt, everything to the smallest creature has its role and together makes the whole, in which humankind is just one small part. What if we would celebrate nature the way we celebrate Diwali, Eid, Christmas around the world? Planting trees and visiting seeds, markets, and natural history museums, gazing at the stars, exploring nature areas near and far from our home, bringing light to rivers, oceans, and mountains, and celebrating natural diversity instead of buying presents that end up in full cupboards and drawers, shipping the most exotic food around the world, and extracting valuable resources from the earth. Indians have a vivid concept about the spiritual and material dimensions of the man from time immemorial. It has originated from the precious treasures of Indian culture, namely the Vedas, Upanishads, epics, and Purans. Indian philosophy elaborates on the ultimate objectives of human birth, human beings, duties to environment, society, and family, etc. Man is an indispensable and integral component of universe. The utilization of natural resources is based on human restraint, confined to desirable needs and necessities. Nature is not a commodity to be consumed for human fulfillment. Western concept of conceiving environment as a utilitarian agency was alien to India. Indian worshipped the natural objects as personifications of gods and goddesses. Ancient bards put forwarded balanced and comprehensive philosophy of nature as is revealed in the study of epics Purans. And now, when so much hue and cry is going on, the United Nations has also come out with the goal of sustainability, and where they have mentioned 30 points. Even yesterday, our the one of the richest person of the Asia, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, the chairman of Reliance Industries, said, I quote, "We have no option as society, as a business, but to really adopt a sustainable business model. I think that is a prerequisite for every business to survive as we go forward. Reliance last year set itself a target of becoming a net zero carbon company by 2035, unquote. So when nature and human relationship is such that if human wants to encroach the nature, it is going to harm the human more than anyone else. So today, to discuss this very, very important point and topic about the human and nature, we have a very elite, very, very knowledgeable, those who are expert in this field, our panelist. And I would like to invite my first panelist. He is Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, is one-man expert commission on labor to prepare an action plan for the welfare and development of the workforce in the context of COVID-19. He is also the principal advisor, Government of India Heritage Project. He was former head of Disaster Management, Government of India, and Central DOF, Relief Commissioner, Government of India. He was the Vice Chancellor of National Museum, University of Delhi. He has authored 40 books in English, Malayalam, and Hindi, including novels, short stories, and essays. 4 of his books have become bestsellers. 4 books on Vastu and architecture and 1 book on housing received prestigious the Sharjah International Book Fair Award. Dr. Bose is an housing expert, innovator, writer, orator, and visionary. The path-breaking institutions set up by him, such as Nirmiti Kendra Building Center, District Tourism Council, and Habitat Alliance, have been replicated at the state, national, and global level. He was the head of the prestigious Supreme Court Committee on the Treasurers of Sri Padmaswamy Temple. Dr. Bose addressed United Nations General Assembly and specialized sessions 5 times on various international issues. Dr. Bose is a recipient of 31 national and international awards, including United Nations Global Best Practice Award. He also received prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship. Kerala government termed him Lord of Ideas. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji called him inspired civil servant, and our Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi called him man of ideas. Welcome, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, on our show. Dr. Bose, because you have worked extensively in Kerala as a very senior bureaucrat from the very beginning. And Kerala is a state which is full of greenery, which is supposed to be the best in nature in our country. And you have seen the nature very, very closely. Now, also because you are principal advisor for the Heritage Project, as well as you are working for as a one-man expert commission. So you know very well the relationship between human and nature. We would like to know your views on human and nature. Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel. I deem it a privilege to share this platform with eminent environmentalists like Sri Neelakantan and Dr. Joy. As a student of literature, I remember Wordsworth who said, "Throw away your books and come with me to nature, for nature is a great teacher." Yes, right from the beginning of the earth, we find this concept of nature conservation has been engaging the attention of people. The emperor of the earth, Prithu finds that somebody has taken away the resources of nature and fled from the place. Being the king, he took his bows and arrows and chased the fugitive. Then he found it is Mother Nature in the form of a cow who had taken all the resources of nature within her udders. When Prithu was about to send his arrow, Mother Nature stopped and told him, I have everything in my udders for your children. Milk me gently. Milk me gently. Milk me gently. I think that is the greatest and the most succinct way of dealing with nature. Nature offers everything for you. As Gandhiji said, earth has everything for your needs, but not your greed. Yes, we should also realize that we have not inherited this universe, this world, this earth from our forefathers. We have borrowed it from our children. That should be underpin our approach to nature. When Mr. Goel said in his introduction that nature is an integrated organism, that is the first fact, the benchmark, which we should not ignore. Now, what is happening around us? One of the poets said about the dirge for earth. The dirge for earth is not just romantic apprehension of a poet. The scientists also say that we are writing the dirge on earth in various ways. Yes, the end is about to come. The floods are about to come, but Noah's ark may not be in sight. Let us take, for instance, global warming. So we are facing various aspects of degradation of nature. There is global warming, there is desertification, there is acid rains, there is ozone depletion, and various aspects of depletion of nature. Now, yes, there is global warming. Temperature is rising. When the sun's rays fall on earth, naturally the temperature will rise. But when the heat is deflected back to earth by various gases there, like what is happening in the greenhouse of a nursery, there are, as you understand, 40 vicious greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide tops the list. Almost 50% of the greenhouse gases is accounted for by carbon dioxide. If my knowledge is right, we are emitting every year 5,000 million tons of carbon dioxide. This happens in various ways. The United States accounts for 25% of the carbon dioxide emission in the world. When trees are burned down, there is alarming statistics that more than 100,000 acres or hectares, more than 100,000 square kilometers of tropical forest is destroyed. Trees are burned down, trees are cut, trees are destroyed in the name of agriculture, in the name of house construction and industries emission. All this joined together to send carbon dioxide in alarming proportion to destroy the balance of nature. Now there is methane, which comes from marshy fields. 30% of the methane emission is accounted for by the paddy fields, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, the number of cattle. Then we have the chlorofluorocarbon, CFC. Isn't it alarming that when I open my fridge or switch on my air conditioner here, I am causing depletion to the ozone layer? Yes, the entire nature is integrated. Once this balance is upset, we find the emission nitrous oxide, nitrogen oxide, all kinds of villains are there, all the handiwork of humans. Now something has got to be done somewhere. It is also said the Antarctic ice shelf is also melting. I read somewhere that in one case, an Antarctic ice shelf which measures 3,250 square kilometers in area and 200 meters in depth has already left for the destruction of humankind. If there is rise in temperature, it is estimated that the temperature can go up as high as 4.5 degrees Celsius. What are the impact of all these things? And if there is a calamity that is going to take place, there is not going to be a warning. That is the worst part of it. So we have to guard it in our approach to nature. We should have a rethink. Yes, the nations of the world have met together. The first convention on human environment by the United Nations, then the Stockholm Conference, Kyoto Protocol. Yes, now the SDG 30, Sustainable Development Goals, which we are committed to achieve within the year 2030. And of course, the Paris Convention is there on climate change. We are taking steps that unfortunately, what is it that we see around us? We see around us wanton destruction of nature in the name of development. We should realize that what is that is not environmentally sustainable will not be economically sustainable either. So our concept of development has to change. We have to do a soul search and see that unless nature survives, humans are not going to survive. And humans are not only a tiny part of nature. The interrelations between all creatures, great and small, is to be understood in its entirety. And that is what Mr. Goel twice repeated in his introduction about this interconnected nature of nature. Yes, I remember there is this anecdote about a rat. There was a rat in the farmhouse. The farmer's wife is telling the farmer, we should today buy a rat trap. The rat smelled something wrong. It went to the hen of the house and said, our masters are buying a rat trap. Please be careful. The hen said, why should I be careful? It's none of my business. The rat trap is meant for you. You take care. Then it went to the cow in the house. The rat trap is being purchased. Please be careful. The cow said, it's none of my business. It is your business. You take care of that. That day, there was some noise in the rat trap. Thinking that rat has already been trapped, the farmer's wife went there and saw it was a cobra that was held in the rat trap. The cobra bit the farmer's wife, and then the doctors had to be rushed in. People came to seek her welfare. The hen was killed to prepare chicken for the guests. Then, to meet the cost of the treatment, the cow was sold to the slaughterhouse. Finally, the only survivor in that house was the rat. So you will feel it is none of my business that nature has a balance. Nature is interconnected. And once we disturb the balance of nature, we are destroying ourselves. Therefore, we have to rethink, we have to look into ourselves and find an answer to this. Are we going to allow the world to end with a bang or a whimper? Whether it is a bang or a whimper. The world started with a big bang, it is said. But if we go at this rate, the world will end in a whimper unless we do our obligations to nature. Yes, we have to see is winter comes, can spring be far behind. I am not a prophet of doom. I am sure that environmentalists who are here will have a suggestion to this, will have an answer to this, will have a solution to this. Yes, there are some people who find solutions to problems, others who find problems and solutions. Well, as far as environmental conservation is concerned, we need people who can find solutions to the problem. Unless we go back to nature, what we need is not an escape from nature, but an escape into nature. I am sure that the ways and means of finding an escape into nature will emerge from this discussion because we have seasoned panelists who are here. I wait for their words. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sivianand Bose, for giving your introductory remarks about the human and nature. And I will just highlight one or two points which he has mentioned. He mentioned about the global warming. And yes, it's a matter of concern. And he says for that, the reason is very clear. We are destroying trees, we are cutting trees, we are destroying our forests. And once the forest will be destroyed, definitely the global warming increase. And he has given the logic that once the sun rays comes, the earth become hot. But once it's after the sunset, when it goes back, even then, because of the gases, the heat component still remain on the earth, and that's a danger for the global warming. According to him, if this condition will continue, the day is not far when the earth will be totally finished. And so that there are many things like the United Nations SDG 30, which they are saying that sustainable development will be contained by the 2030, as well as he has mentioned about the Paris Convention. Although there was some misunderstanding and some things have happened because of the Mr. Trump, the earlier president of the United States. But again, United States, the new president has restored the or going to be restored. I am not sure, but I'm sure that he has mentioned that he's going to restore the financial aid is required to the Paris Convention. He also mentioned a very, very important point, and he says that for the development, we are cutting the trees, we are destroying the nature. Now, development is also required, but without the environment, human will not survive. So what is the use of the development? So he says we must try to change the concept of development. We must work out something which, without destroying the environment, the development can take place. And that's why he wants good suggestions, positive suggestions, or the solutions for this very, very complex issues, because it looks like that nature, and whenever there is some environmental day, we used to celebrate, but we forget that this is every day, every minute we have to think for the nature. Dr. Bose mentioned about the air conditioner or the fridge. Once you use that device, you are harming the nature. So when this is the situation, what are going to be the solution? Definitely, Dr. Bose, as he mentioned, that we have two very renowned environmentalists. Definitely, we'll go to them, ask them the solutions, and then we will see what best can work out or come out from this media conference. Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, for giving your very good openings things. And I'm sure this media conference will also give some positive suggestion. And with your help, when you are referring, giving all these suggestions and including in your report, give some relaxation or some new dimensions for the development, as you have mentioned. Thank you very much, Dr. Bose. Now, I would like to invite my next guest. He is Mr. C.R. Neelkandan. Mr. C.R. Neelkandan is a renowned environmentalist. He has done graduation in engineering and law. Mr. Neelkandan started his career in BARC, followed by Caltron. He also worked in other countries. As environmentalist, he was involved in various protests like Silent Valley, anti-Coca-Cola, Enron projects at Dabhol and Kannur Express Highway, Smart City eviction, various hydel projects like Ethrapalli, Popam Kutti, various mining projects of mineral sands at Atharpuja and Allapad quarries, airport projects at Arnamula, Quimli displacements like Mulampilli for ICTT, Vallapadam, NH BOT projects. Against industrial pollutions at Ellore, Kathikudam, Chaliyar, Kakacheri, etc. He also protested for the betterment of the environment against the IOC LPG project Vaipin, IOC LBG plant at Chelari, Goel pipeline, waste dumping on many parts of Kerala, etc. And these protests are for the benefit or to bring the attention of the government. These were not the protests what we are seeing nowadays. It's not a protest with violence. Their protest was just to bring the attention of the government or the concerned authorities so that they can work out something which will harm, the minimum harm to the nature, and development can take place, as Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has mentioned. Welcome, Mr. C.R. Neelkandan on our show. Mr. Neelkandan, you have heard what Dr. C.V. Anand Bose has mentioned. And he has raised a very pertinent question, which is a billion-dollar question. Everyone, whenever I also do the media conference on environment, people says, don't cut the tree. But even if we cut a tree and if we put 10 trees, it will take 30, 40 years to grow. Till the time, what is going to happen? You are an environmentalist. You have seen so many industries coming up. You have tried to give the solutions or ask them to mend some ways for the development. So we would like to know from you, the human and nature. Mr. C.R. Neelkandan, please.
Thank you, Goel ji, and I'm very thankful to you to be part of this, what you call dais, where a great person like C.V. Anand Bose, who is very well known in Kerala for his expertise in administration, expertise in house building, many things. And we all respect Anand Bose, and also Dr. C.M. Joy is one of my very closest friends and environmentalist. We work together on many of these projects. So I'm very happy. Now we come to the point. I start where Dr. Anand Bose stopped, the question of development. What is the meaning of development? When we call the word development, what it imparts to us? One important thing or one misleading thing, I think, is, see, for example, we divide the world into three: developed, developing, and underdeveloped. This is based on economic, technology, and many things, many paradigms. So US and Western Europe, Japan, Singapore, all developed. And we, India, China, Brazil, Pakistan, all under Argentina, all developing, and many underdeveloped, like Bangladesh or Maldives, or I don't know, or Sub-Saharan Africa. So my question is, if we consider, for example, US is a developed country and India is a developing country, what message it gives to a common man in the world, or an Indian, whether he is in power, is a common Indian, or a ruler, or a political leader, or a technocrat or bureaucrat, whatever it is. What message it gives? America is a developed country, India is a developing country. Okay. So that means India is a child, growing child, and America is a grown-up man. So the child is growing to be a grown-up man or woman. So that is the concept we are getting. That is, India will be developed in 2030, somebody says, for our honorable Prime Minister, every Prime Minister, not this Prime Minister, says, it gives a meaning that India will be like US in 2030, US or UK or France or Netherlands, whatever it is. So that is the fundamental question. Can Indian live? I take average, I don't take top or bottom, average. Can an average Indian live like an average US citizen as they are living now? Say, the load, as rightly pointed out in Lal Goel in the beginning, a load of carbon or natural resources given by a load given by an average American citizen is almost 50 to 60 times an average load given by an Indian. This is a general, either in oil or in water or in any other resources. If it goes to Sub-Saharan African, it will be much lower. Even in India, if we take a tribal in Jharkhand or Kerala, Tappadi or anywhere, why not? It will be much lower than the average of people like me or Dr. Ananda Bose or Joy. So what I'm saying is, if our aim is to make India like US as a developed country and consuming in the pattern as an American consumes today, because that is our development index. You use more power, you use more oil, you use more vehicle, like that. Whether it is possible physically, whether you see, for example, India and China becoming a consumer as average per capita like America. What will be the load on the globe? It will be at least it will be India itself will be 5 America and China will be 6 America. So around 10 to 11 America load will be added to the globe. Now, if it is going to Latin America also, what I'm saying is, what will be the load by the development of the developing countries, so-called developing countries? So my point is, this definition itself is wrong. We cannot call America as a developed. What I call is, America and other Western countries are overdeveloped. India is a developing. There should be some point where we have to stop both. If we cannot come to that, if India, see, an Indian who likes to live like American, if he has money, he lives like American, he can live. They are living. There are people in India who are living like Americans, spending more average Americans energy and consuming what you call all natural resources, including petrol, air, water, everything. So what I'm saying is, this concept of development should be questioned. If we cannot question this concept of development, India is a developing country and US is a developed country. If you repeat it unknowingly, that is highly misleading, and you can never find a solution of any sustainable development. That is, I'm not against US, I am not against India or whatever it is. It's the truth. Why this became a rule, or this concept became popular? This is mainly because, as Lal Goel ji rightly told out, from the time of industrial revolution, it was not the concept anywhere in the world before industrial revolution. Because industrial revolution, technological advancement, I'm an engineer by profession. So technological advancement, technology by itself has given a paradigm. And what is that paradigm? That paradigm is, if you are an engineer, your job is to take natural resources, process it, and make it useful to common man or public. So that is my job. Every engineer, every technocrat is doing that. You get the natural resources. As rightly told, any consumption by any person in the world, even in software or hardware, it is using natural resources somehow. Whether it is silicon or iron or silver or gold or air or water or carbon, whatever. So you are using a natural resource. So engineer, technology, the concept of technology or paradigm of technology is defined. The faster you extract the natural resources, the better is your technology. See, for example, I'm having a mining machine. This mining machine, one mining machine can take 10,000 tons per year. Another 100,000 per year. Which you prefer? 100,000 per year will be the better machine. Because it is the average mining capacity is higher and it is better. You mine it 10 times better. So it is more efficient. It is many things I can define. It is maybe you will call it green also because it is using less energy, things like that. So my point is, if why this position has come. See, if you are taking blood from your body to try to donate, will you think that we will take blood faster? Like you take water from a well. Taking water from a well and taking blood from your body is two extraction. Will you think the same way? No, because you know if you take blood very fast, it will affect your body. But if you don't know, if you take water very fast from a well or a ground well, whatever it is, there will be depletion and there will be problems. There will be because you think your natural resources are infinite or unlimited. That is our old concept. So that is infinite resources will lead to unlimited development, unlimited growth. The word growth itself is a very dangerous word, I think, because even the economic growth, we say, if the growth is not considering your health, you think in our body, if there is a growth which is not considering our health, it is called cancer, we call it, or tumor, whatever it is. So what I'm saying is that exactly the same thing is happening in a country or economy or nature or system. So now what is the position of the world? Before 20-30 years, we never thought water will be a scarce resource. Now we are drinking water in a water bottle. So when 20-30 years before, we were never drinking, we were never buying water, at least in Kerala, I am very sure. 30 years before, when I told people will be drinking water in bottles, buying bottles, but people were looking funny. And they were saying, oh, no, that will not happen in Kerala because we 3 are Kerala. Sorry, Goel ji, you also may be knowing 3,000 millimeter average rain in Kerala. It's a small place. We have 44 main rivers and small rivers, rivulets, ponds, backwater, everything, everywhere water in Kerala. So who thinks that somebody from Kerala will buy bottled water? Now, what happened? I had written an article around 21 years back saying that Keralite will take an umbrella and using an umbrella, he or she will go out in the heavy rain to buy water from a shop to drink. So people thought, no, it will not happen. But it happened in last two floods, 18 and 19. 2018, 2019, we have consecutive years we had floods. So I was one of the person who went with the rescue team. So when we go in the boat to rescue people standing on their house, top of their house, so they're all first floor, maybe second floor or flooded. So even their first question is whether you have bottled water. But they are full with the rainwater. So what happens? It is not just scarcity of resources. Scarcity, you cannot say. It is usable resource. Now, at that time, after that, when we told air, that is the last resource, no? Air is an unlimited resource, we think. Now, nobody can say air is an unlimited resource. People are running for oxygen like anything, anywhere. Because now people are dying of oxygen. Even in what I call green Kerala, we are running for oxygen. Green Kerala, where we have everywhere trees. Anybody comes to Kerala, as you know, Goel ji told, it will be green. But we are running for oxygen. We don't have oxygen anywhere in India. So what I'm saying is, even the air is a curse, water is cursed, sea is cursed, forest is cursed, land is cursed, every mineral is cursed, even coal is cursed. So what I'm saying, what I'm saying is, this we don't have resources to go like this too much. In 1970, when the Club of Rome and limits of growth paper was presented by the scientists, they were telling that, okay, limits of growth is limited. But now limits of growth has come to everybody. We call development. In Kerala, I am talking from Kerala. C.V. Anand Bose ji may be knowing much better. In two floods, the first flood 2018, we lost around 42,000 crores of resource, or our wealth. It is just flown away into the Arabian Sea. We lost. So how many years it will take to build that much wealth? How many years it will take? So whether our approach to nature is correct or wrong. So my point is, just saying sustainable development and things like that, this may mislead. My point is, you have to change your logic itself. If you are using the same logic of development, you can never have a sustainable development, because this logic is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. This is unsustainable, because this is in antagonism with the nature. Now we understand the logic we engineers or technocrats or bureaucrats or politicians we are applying on the nature is unsustainable. You cannot find some solution to that, like changing a spare part this way, but the whole vehicle is going in the wrong direction. So my point is, you are going in the wrong direction. We cannot solve any problem for that matter. Even urban waste, hospital waste, starting from that, pollution of the river. See, we have seen issues like Thames River. I will stop that point. Thames River, you might have seen, I have seen many times. Thames River was very bad around 30 years back. Now, Thames River is very good. We can make good river if we do like that. But Ganges, all our governments are trying their best to make our river clean. But it is difficult. It's not that which government, which rules, which party. It's immaterial, because our developmental pattern is different. Our approach is different. So what I'm saying is, you cannot get everything you need from the nature. See, it is like, I would like to drive a Benz car. Benz, there is no problem, Mercedes. But I should think, what is my income? I should decide which car based on my resource, my income. Similarly, what all comforts you require, comfort, taste, whatever it is to be decided not by your money, because money cannot buy natural resources. Money cannot make natural resources. If you can cut a tree and make it into wood and get 1 lakh rupees. But if that tree stays there, because there was some controversy in Kerala later in the cutting trees and things like that. If one tree stands there, how much oxygen it gives, and what is the cost of that oxygen when compared to the bottled oxygen? You compare for the next 30 years, if the tree stands there, what is the money? It is cost. It is the cost of oxygen. It is delivering to the society. When you cut the tree and sell the wood, the cost will be uncomparably low to the cost of oxygen. That is one way. Second thing, I am not saying you cannot cut it. You can cut the tree. But even in Western countries, whatever we call them wrong and things like that, they had controlled their environment. They had controlled their at least in the physical manner. So you cannot cut any trees in US or UK, or because there will be protest. You cannot build houses, big houses anywhere in US or UK or Switzerland. Or there are clear controls on the utilization of land, water, trees, forest, seashore, and everything. In India, we don't have any laws. Whatever we have laws, but every laws are for violating. They are not for obeying. So what I'm saying is, even last we had a big deal in Kerala for towers, for buildings, residential towers were dismantled by the order of Supreme Court, because Supreme Court and everybody was worried. We all were worried, because see, that building may be owned by poor people, but it is highly violating the coastal regulation zone. Now in Kerala, not in the hilly area, our Western Ghats is not safe, Midland is not safe, coast is not safe. So where we will live? If we think of development, at least it should be safe development. What I'm saying is, it should be safe first, then only sustainable. If it is not safe, it cannot be sustainable. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Now, anything we can discuss later. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. C.R. Neelkantan. And what he says, safe development is required. So what is the safe development? And he has highlighted many things. I will highlight few things. And the important part, what he says is that the development, we have been classified, developed, under developing and underdeveloped countries. According to him, it is a wrong classification. The countries like US, UK, etc., they are already overdeveloped because they are creating emitting lots of unhealthy gases like carbon dioxide, etc., like CO2. And they say the load is about 50 to 60% from US only. Now, if India will also become like USA, which according to our planners feel that it will take about by 2030. So then what is going to happen? Because India is 5 to 6 times bigger than the USA. So, and plus adding the China, so about 10 or 11% more load on the earth. He says this is wrong classification of the development. And he has given an example. He says when you are taking blood from a human being, can you increase the speed? Then we can't increase the speed, because we know if we increase the speed of extraction, the person will die. Same thing when you are extracting the water. Why we want, according to him, the engineers were trained or educated to use more and more natural resources so that the end product can be cheaper or can be easily available. But he says if we are extracting more and more water, what harm we are giving, how we are creating the nature to die, that is our own creative thing. And he has mentioned about that unlimited growth which is taking place, which is wrong. He says the growth, even in a body, he has given again an example of cancer. If any growth happens in a body, it can become a cancer. So why that type of growth is taking place? And he says that Mr. Neelkantan has mentioned 30 years back that water will be a scarcity one day, drinking water, and that is happening today, that we are buying the bottled water. And now even the air, which we have seen in the COVID time, how the people were running here and there for buying an oxygen cylinder. And he says this is because people are greedy to create more and more wealth, unorganized, unplanned development, and that is why it is happening. And he has given an example of Kerala, where 42,000 crores wealth was washed away in 2018. He says again that to create that wealth, again the natural resources are going to be destroyed. And he says this, he disagree with this sustainable development growth, and he says this is all false. It has to be changed. If we will only do thinking of development, if we are not thinking of how we have to conserve our natural resources, then it is of no use. Then if we can't save our earth, what we are thinking to. And he has given the example of Thames River, that 30 years back it was so dirty, but today the Thames River is very clean. We are also trying in our country, but he says again the same problem is so much pollution is going on. It is because of the unplanned development or the growth which is taking place, the cutting the trees. And he says the Indian laws are there. You cannot cut a tree in UK, USA easily, or you cannot construct a house without proper permissions. But in India, the laws are there, but we all know that the laws are to be flouted. And that is why he has given him the example of the Kerala multi-storied building, which was demolished after the intervention of Honorable Supreme Court. Thank you very much, Mr. C.R. Neelkantan, for giving your very, very elaborate views about the environment. We will come back to you in the next round. I would like to invite my next guest, and he is Dr. C.M. Joy. Dr. C.M. Joy was the Associate Professor of Sacred Heart College, Kochi. He was former Registrar of Kerala Forest Research Institute, Pichi. One moment, please. He has done MSc Botany in first class from Calicut University. He did PhD in Environmental Studies from Cochin University of Science and Technology. He was teaching to PG and UG for 26 years. He was expert member in the committee issuing tree cutting permission for the trees growing in public places at the Ernakulam district Panchayat area, Kerala State Forest Department from 2010 to 2020. He was expert member for Central University of Kerala, Kasaragod for confidential works from 2016 to 2019. He was in University Grants Commission as observer of National Eligibility Test for JRF and lectureship. He was subject expert in the selection committee of teaching staff at St. Teresa College, Ernakulam, and UC College, Aloha. He was member of working group on environment, 13th plan, Kerala State Planning Board, Government of Kerala 2016 to 17. He was member board of studies in botany, St. Teresa College, Ernakulam, and SH College, Thevara 2016 to 2014 to 2016. He was member secretary of Academic Council, Sacred Heart College, Thevara 2014 to 2016. His publication includes 6 books and 40 articles published in national and international journals of repute. He wrote 1,100 popular articles in newspapers and magazines. He guided 2 PhDs and 6 MPhils. Welcome, Dr. C.M. Joy on our show. Dr. Joy, you have heard the earlier panelists, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, as well as Mr. C.R. Neelakandan. Now, both have given their views about environment. One thing is very clear by what they have raised, the issue about the development. And Dr. Bose is very clear. He says we have to change the concept. We have to revisit the concept of the development. We try to find out some solution that the development can take place by harming very less the natural resources. What Mr. C.R. Neelakandan has mentioned, he says that our definition of development is wrong. What we are talking of development is not a proper development. And he is giving so many examples which you have heard very clearly. So now we would like to know your views of human and nature. Dr. C.M. Joy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel. I heard from Dr. C.V. Anand Bose and C.R. Neelakandan. I agree with them in most of the aspects they explained. Human nature, that is the relationship, has been explored through various human-related activities, from natural resource extraction and environmental hazards to habitat management and restoration. Within the past 4 decades, research has been increasingly drawn towards the understanding whether there is a link between changing human nature relationship and its impact on people's health. People need ecosystems. Ecosystems contribute to human well-being in various ways. It provides oxygen, food, water, shelter, and energy. It regulates the conditions like temperature, water, air, soil in which people live, work, and play. Researchers have been increasingly drawn towards understanding human-nature relationship. Humans are in many ways linked with the natural environment. Man uses natural resources and draws health benefits associated with the engaging the nature. And we know that it is the oxygen which is released by the plants through their photosynthesis, and they are making carbohydrate. That is the available food on the earth to all the organisms on the earth. And we know that nature gives food and shelter. And it gives natural resources like water, soil for agriculture, biodiversity. It provides forest, wildlife, metals and minerals, coal, oil, and natural gas. But what happens now over-exploitation of nature, which results into greenhouse gases, increased greenhouse gases, global warming, melting of ice, and sea level rise, climate change, more cyclones and droughts, desertification of fertile lands, and now oil and natural gas resources are going to exhaust. Man is modifying the nature and breaking the hills and mountains, and they are claiming the wetlands, paddy fields, and over-exploitation of forest and wildlife. And now there is threat to get food, shortage of drinking water, pollution problems, new diseases due to the loss of habitats, excessive mining operations and landslides, water, air, soil pollution due to discharge of municipal solid waste, plastic effluents, and toxic gases. And we are facing traffic blocks, smog, and lost forest. And because of that, there is less carbon sequestration. And we should know what is the impact happened due to the habitat loss. 66% of the ocean environment and 75% of terrestrial environment we lost due to human activities. 100 to 300 million people are subjected to flood, cyclones, and drought due to loss of coastal habitats. Loss of pollinators, as you said, as you Goel said, loss of pollinators like bees, beetle, butterfly, bats, birds, ants causes loss of $577 billion due to agricultural production failure. And I shall mention an incident took place in Malaysia. We know that the Malaysian economy is based on the export of the fruit called durian. And during the 1970s, there was a failure in the export. That is because of the failure in the durian production. That was because there was no pollination. And in durian, pollination was done by a kind of bats. And Malaysian government actually, they removed most of the mangrove forest along the coast of the Malaysia for the cultivation of shrimp or prawn cultivation. That was the region, that was the place where the bats resides. And now they have shifted their habitat to the nearby hills and mountains. And Malaysian government planned to make a cement factory. And they were in search of limestone hills, and they found that these hills where our small bats residing is good for limestone. They removed the entire hills and mountains, and there was a threat to life of these bats. Actually, that led to the collapse of the economy of a country. So it is very important to the life forms, all the life forms of the Earth. 5.9 million organisms on Earth lost their habitats. In last 100 years, we lost 90% of our seeds used for agriculture. Diversity of food is also reduced. Traditional medicine sector is facing a threat due to biodiversity loss. 2 billion hectares of forest deforested. 350 million hectares of land equal to India lost their habitat. This is the situation. This is the situation we are facing the Earth overshoot. So as you said, it is a great problem. Earth Overshoot Day marks the date when humanity demands for ecological resources and the services in a given year exceeds that Earth can generate to that year. Earth Overshoot Day is computed by dividing the planet's biocapacity, that is the amount of ecological resources the Earth is able to generate that year, by humanity's ecological footprint, that is humanity's demand for that year. And it is multiplied by 365, that is number of days. And this year, Earth Overshoot Day, that is 2021, lands on July 29. That means after, there are 4 or 5 months after July 29. So what it denotes that we have taken all the resources needed for that year, this year, and we completed it before July 29. And if human beings are using resources like today, it requires resources of 2 Earths to meet the demand in 2030. That is the situation. And we have examples from our country also. That is an example like Cherrapunji. When I was young, usually the questions in the examination, which is the wettest place in India. And the answer is Cherrapunji. As we know, Cherrapunji or Sora, that is a place in Meghalaya, which is situated at 4,267 feet above mean sea level. And it was the wettest place on the earth. But it is not now. Now it is not the wettest place. It is Mauzinram. Mauzinram, we know that there is the annual rainfall is 11,873 millimeters. What happens to Cherrapunji? Now Cherrapunji is facing acute water shortage. Inhabitants trek very long distance to obtain potable water. Irrigation is hampered due to excessive rain washing away the topsoil. Uncontrollable human encroachment into the forest area. Mining of hills for chalk, coal, limestone, and stone quarry. Now 50% of the forest in Cherrapunji almost lost. Now annual rainfall of Cherrapunji is get reduced. So that is these are the things we can see as the today's in front of us. These are the things. But still, see, we are talking about the development. Still, we are using. See, people are thinking that it is human beings is a super creation. It can use everything. It can exploit everything, and not leaving anything for the next generation. So now the earth is retaliating as cyclones, retaliating as heavy rainfall, retaliating as a drought. So now we and our children and future generation are facing all these natural calamities. And now with these few words, I am concluding my introduction.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Joy, for giving your introductory thing about the human and nature. And what Dr. Joy has said, I would just highlight few points. One, he says that everyone requires the ecosystem. The ecosystem means the water, oxygen, energy, etc. But from where they are getting, and that is where we are destroying our nature. We are overreaching and we are trying to cut the trees and to get all these things. And he has given an example of Malaysia, how the Malaysian economy was finished because their main economies was from a fruit which they used to grow in. But because of their change in policy, they have started cutting the mangroves. They have and that's why the export of that product could not take place and the entire economic collapsed. And he says that even because the bats pollution which used to take place there could not take place because of the cutting of the trees, etc. Now he says, he has given all the figures how we have cutted the trees, how the entire world is doing like this. And he says this is because we are thinking for now for ourselves. We are not thinking for the future generation, what is going to happen. And he has given an example about the Cherrapunji. Yes, we also, when we used to give the reply, we always say Cherrapunji. But today he says that Cherrapunji, the rainfall has come down because the 50% of the forest has already been cut. And he says that is why we are having now more and more floods. We have more cyclones and all those things because Earth is retaliating. And he says, unless we will not have a proper plan to restore our natural resources or try not to consume them over lead then. And he has given the date for the overshoot is this year is July 29th, which is, it means after that, there are 5 months more to go in this year. So he says it's a matter of alarming, and we have to think how it can be done so that we can leave something for our next generation or the generations to come. Thank you very much, Dr. Joy, for giving your views. Now I would like to go for my next round, and I would like to ask the question to Dr. Bose. Dr. Bose, there was always a conflict. It was earlier and now. Earlier, people used to, because one reason might be the population was less, people were not having that much ambition. I should not say, but I can say the media is also to be blamed, that now awareness is there even in a remote village. And when they see the kind of houses, the kind of vehicles, the lifestyle of a city people, definitely they also tend to copy that. And when this conflict between human and nature, because for that they used to cut the trees, defrost the forest, they will try to consume, reach and try to harm the nature. But how you would like to analyze this conflict, or in any other words, this environmental degradation which is taking place? What do you think? What is the reason, and how it is going to be conserved or saved? Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, please.
Yeah, Mr. Goel, I think the primordial answer to this question has been given by Rachel Carson, whose epoch-making work, The Silent Springs, first opened up the eyes of the world to the dangers of environmental pollution. Quoting Albert Schweitzer, she made a prophetic statement. Man has lost the ability to foresee and forearm. Man has lost the ability to foresee and forearm. It appears he will end up destroying the universe. This was a prediction which was made at that time. Like the prediction which Mr. Neelakandan made 21 years back, that Kerala may face water shortage. This was a prophetic foreboding which was made by her. In fact, there is one line in her book which should make us think deeply. Quoting the poet, she says, the sedge is withered in the lake, and no birds sing. The sedge is withered in the lake, and no birds sing. Think of that situation. That's $1 million statement. No birds sing. Look at the situation where the birds do not sing. Yes, that is a stage to which we have taken this earth because of our callous indifference and wanton destruction. I once again agree with Sri Neelakandan, who said, growth for the sake of growth is the nature of the cancer cell. That is not development. Yes, the answer is very clear. We have destroyed systematically, wantonly, over the years, over the centuries. We destroyed the earth, we destroyed the air, we destroyed water. Now, where is the way out? The way out is something which we have to think of. He who pollutes must pay. That has been accepted the world over. He who pollutes must pay. Look at the leading nations, to use the terminology of Mr. Neelakandan again. America, not a developed nation, but a more developed nation, isn't it? America accounts for 25% of the emission of carbon dioxide. They should take responsibility for that. During the days of Jimmy Carter, there was a committee of 9 headed by Jules Charny, the famous climatologist, who said there is a danger. They are the ones who say the danger is there, and when the danger strikes, there will not be any warning. America rose up. Then during the election campaign of President Bush, he said America will take proactive and effective steps against the emission of carbon dioxide. Within 10 days, he withdrew his statement. He withdrew his statement and said, it is not scientifically established that carbon dioxide emission is a cause of environmental degradation and global warming. He who pollutes must pay. Even in the case of Paris Declaration, Trump had a wavering. Now, those nations which are responsible for pollution they should be made to pay. Pay not only in cash, there are various costs which are involved in this. I think a concerted action is required at the international level, where strict measures will be enforced on the violating nations and the violating people. Then only we can save nature. And now, the worst tragedy which is going to come, which of course for want of time, maybe it was not discussed here. Look at the 95% of the world's water is stored in the ice caps, ice shelves of the polar region. Suppose it melts. If it melts, what can happen? It's a catastrophic thing. See, if the level of ocean rises 8 inches, many cities will be lost. Most of the agricultural land in Egypt will be lost. Bangladesh will be under sea. And if it rises to 20 feet, then we will not be having cities like New York, Paris, Sydney. This is a situation which is unfolding itself before us. Naturally, action should be there. I do not want to continue this because I know there is a shortage of time. But one thing, if you permit me, in India, our traditional heritage makes us respect nature, respect everything, respect even grass. There is a story. The Devas were chased away by the Asuras. Devas lost the battle. Indra was running away from the enemy. He saw a tree on which there was a bird's nest. Indra told his Devas, go back. Stop your horses and go back. Because he knew if the marching army goes under the tree, the bird nest will fall down and the young chicks will die. This he did not want to do. So he went back. Seeing the God's armies, Deva armies coming back, the chasing Asuras thought they must be coming with larger reinforcements. Devas won, Asuras lost. All because of the respect for a prey, all because of the respect for a bird. Yes, we need not denigrate our heritage, denigrate our history. Respect nature. Nature is part of us. Nature is mother. Nature is a creator. Nature is a preserver. Nature is a destroyer. Therefore, we should know our first duty is nature. Our second duty is nature. Our third duty is nature. If that seeps into our mind, that will be the first step for the protection of nature. You protect nature, nature will in turn protect you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bose, for giving a very, very explanatory and I must say very enlightening views of yours. Now I would like to go for my next question, and it is for Mr. C.R. Neelakandan. If what you or all our experts are saying, are you there, Mr.? Yeah. If what you are saying, let's take it, yes, we must not destroy, we should not cut the tree. But what are the remedies for environmental degeneration or environmental conservation? Because population is increasing. We are taking the, let's not go for the beyond India. Let's take the case of India. We have increased manifold in say 4 or 5 decades. We are increasing, the population is, they require, after all, they have to cut the tree to build the house. They require where they require clothes. So for everything, as you have mentioned, that for everything the natural resources are going to be used. So when this is the situation, can you give any remedy with your vast experience so that environmental conservation can take place? Mr. C.R. Neelakandan, please.
Thank you, sir. That's a very interesting question on population, and the number of people are increasing. So your load on natural resources will be more. Agreed. And theoretically, it is agreeable. What I'm saying is, say for example, in your house there are 5 people. Instead of that, another 1 child comes again. Your income is not increasing. What will you do? It should be sharing. What I'm saying is, you have to consider the whole earth or whole India or nature as a whole together. So, see, even in India, there are people are over consuming. There is, see, for example, I'm not against using cars or anything. If you have 1 car, the tax will be this. If you have a second car, if you have a second house, if you have a house more than, there should be control for your consumption. That is first thing. If you control the consumption, then only you can control the resource utilization of resource. It is not that, say, there are dearth of houses for new families, but there are houses vacant all over India, especially I know in Kerala, we have around 20 lakhs of houses
Uh,
for families.
I think some noise is coming.
No.
Some
Is anything? Hello?
okay. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. So Dr. Anandabose will be knowing better than me in the statistics, in the housing in Kerala. We have dearth of houses for around 3 lakh families, but we have around 20 lakh houses without any family. You construct houses, and whatever houses you construct will be much bigger than what is actually required. So what I'm saying is, there should be strict rules depending on the, especially the usage of any natural resources, including land and these things. See, even in countries like Thailand, where it's totally capitalistic and free market or whatever it is, even there is limit for your houses. That is what I was telling. When in a free market economies, there are limitations on your usage of cars or usage of, say, in London or Paris, they are going more to bicycle than cars. Why? India can go to bicycle, India can use bicycle better than any UK person or London person or Parisian, because our traditions are more hardworking, or more, what you call, effort. We are putting more effort on things like that. So what I'm saying is, our solution should be well planned, not unplanned growth. There should be planned growth, utilization. Every person, that's what one major point is, as entered earlier also. Any person is eligible for a particular amount of natural resources. Either me or you or Prime Minister or President or Ambani or anybody, I don't bother anybody. He is not having right over natural resources than as fixed by the, because it is what we do in houses, no? What we do in our house, we divide whatever is possible based on certain priorities. So that priority is the order of the house. That should be done even in the nation also. You cannot allow somebody to use. That is what Mahatma Ji told. There are resources for everybody's need. Now, need and grade, how you define? That depends on the availability of natural resources. Somebody having more needs and he takes more, means what will happen? Somebody will be denied. Maybe in this generation, maybe in the next generation, more people. See, for this generation, maybe 30% is denied. Next generation, it will be 60% will be denied. Next generation, it will be 90% will be denied their natural resources. What I'm saying is, we should, if you understand nature, it's a continuum. It's as told correctly, it is interdependent and interconnected. From mountain, top of the mountain to the bottom of the sea, it is interconnected. So this interconnectivity, if you know, a tribal living in the guts, or the fishermen living in the coast. So this all, considering all, we have to decide how much you can utilize. So the consumption pattern should be decided, not that I have a requirement. My requirement, as it is, depends on my resources. This is my major point. If you are not considering our resources because before deciding your requirement, there is a gap between resource and requirement. If it is a negative, then what will happen? You will be indebted. You will be in debt trap. That is what actually, like the peasants or something, we said debt trap. Humanity is in a debt trap now to the nature. So how to conserve the debt trap? You cannot increase the. We have technologies, we have approaches, we have many things. See, our technology, that our consumption will be reduced. Utilization of water, our agricultural methods may have to be changed. Maybe now we are going to green sort of things, and our production system. We have to improve the production system. See, we may have to go for public transport rather than going private transport. We may have to see many universities. Many universities in the world, they are not allowed to enter a car into their campuses. You have to go, you keep the car outside and use your bicycle to go there. So it can be done in India. That's what I'm saying. But for that, we should think that the man riding bicycle is poor and man riding Mercedes is rich and he's more efficient. I can ride. No, you cannot ride Mercedes if you don't have diesel or petrol. That's what I'm saying. So this is we are doing in our house. See, same thing you have to apply to the thing. So man is a social being in the house, in the society, in the country, in the state, in the village, everywhere. So we should be a social being. If you are not a social being, okay, I don't bother whatever you think, I'll do whatever I like. That cannot be done. Then that means
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Nilkandan. Now I would like to ask my next question to Dr. Joy. Dr. Joy, you have heard all the panelists. I would like to know where you will place India in the race of environmental conservation. Please unmute. Please unmute. Please unmute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So while considering,
You are muted again. You are muted again.
but we should also talk about the natural resources. And as I told you earlier, so many of the organisms lost their habitats. And now we understand that South Asian respiratory syndrome virus jumped from bats to civets, then to man. MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome virus, moved from bats to camels, then to man. Ebola virus from bushmeat, and coronavirus. There are disputes still. It is believed that it is from Pagoli. Nipah virus, fruit-eating bats to man. These organisms visited human inhabitants due to the loss of their habitats or due to our changed food habitat. So we should go for a sustainable development, a development that meets the needs of present day without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This development should meet the goals. That is also very important. We should consider these goals: no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being for all, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water and life below land, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institution partnership for the goals. So we have to consider all these things. And here what is considering, that is the interest of the investor. If he wants to do something, government is not thinking about other things. So if you are applying for a construction of a house, government is just giving the permission. Government is not thinking about the resources, from where he is getting the resources and what services we have to provide, like electricity, water, and what will be the condition of that area, whether there is flood or drought, whether he is constructing in a canal, natural canal, or encroached land, or the banks of the river. Nothing they are considering. So the sustainable development is the way. So we have no science. Actually, it is the problem is absence of science in the development.
Okay.
So sustainable development is a way of organizing society so that it can exist in long term. If individuals act independently, rationally, and focused on pursuing their individual interest, they had end up going against the common interest for their communities and exhaust planet's natural resources. In this way,
yes,
free access and unlimited consumption of finite resource would extinguish these same resources. So there must be checks
So there must be checks according to Dr. Joy. So thank you very much, Dr. Joy, for giving the reply. So viewers, you have seen today that how the human is destroying the nature because they are unknowingly, many knowingly, many unknowingly. We are using electricity, we are using vehicles, we are constructing the house. We are not knowing how much pressure we are putting on our natural resources, how much we are consuming. So whenever, if you want to do anything, you must think about the natural resource. You must think, when we think about our children, why not we are thinking of the generations to come? Why we are limitizing only for ourselves? Why not we are thinking of the generations to come? We have to leave for natural resources for them. And for that, whatso the suggestions have been given, that we must have a very, very controlled development, which should be not harming the natural resources. And if we are doing it without thinking, like our panelist has mentioned, that when you are constructing, the government gives the permission without thinking whether what are the things which we are going to consume for the development, which are going to put pressure on the natural resource. That is the thing. And one very important last point I would like to highlight, which our panelist has mentioned about the mindset. Yes, our mindset should be like this, that if somebody is using bicycle, we must not think that he's a poor man. See the Western countries, the rich people, even the prime minister sometimes goes on the bicycle. Why not in India? We are also using the bicycle for want of the best oxygen. And we have all seen the need of the oxygen, how we have for one cylinder of oxygen, we are running here and there. So thank you very much. Thank you all for giving such a I must say, very, very enlightening your thoughts. I'm sure the viewers might be also enlightened. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic. But for last more than a month, we are doing an evening show that is called Kal Aaj or Kal Lal Goel Ke Sang at 4:30 p.m. every day for half an hour, in which we call an achiever who has reached on the top in his life or her life journey. So we want to know about his or her autobiography, how, from where he has started his journey and how he have reached on the top. And today's my chief guest is Mr. D.B. Mehta, ex-IRS Group Chairman, Allegro, former Chairman, Credai from Mangalore. He is going to join today. So please tune in today at 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much, Dr. C.V. Anand Bose. Thank you very much, Mr. C.R. Neelkantan. And thank you very much, Dr. Joy, for joining and giving very, very